Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Anybody got any Vikings news?
Oh, glad you asked, Judd.
Good.
Why, yes, we do. Latest Vikings news edition of Purple Daily. We got a random Viking of the week here today. We're just a month away from training camp. Judd's camp notes going on his last vacation here before hopefully he doesn't get arrested during this downtime. We also have a Jordan Addison update. Speaking of that,
Yes, we do.
we got a court date. So before we get to all of these things in latest Vikings news, Neos Elite Performance, led by former Purple head athletic trainer Eric Sugarman, is here to help you guys.
Yeah, and Suge and his team at Neos Elite Performance want to get you back in the game. And that doesn't mean that you're a former pro football player, although if you are and you've got some issues, they can help you. But if you were a person that enjoys golf and now can't get back on the course, chronic pain is holding you back, then you want to go with Neos Elite because their cutting-edge regenerative medicine and cellular IV therapy is designed to get you going again. And here's the best part: no invasive procedures. And they're also going to come to you. So no trips to the doctor's office. They're going to come to you, white glove service, and they're going to take care of you and get that pain gone so that you can get back to doing what you love. Just reference Purple Daily and you can get $500 off a cellular IV therapy treatment. That's right, $500 off, no surgery, no downtime, just results. That's right, it's the hat trick of getting rid of that pain. NeosElite.com, Neos Elite.com.
Just sneak of football references, a little hockey reference in there.
Hat trick. Hat trick right there, yes.
Wow.
Pass, shoot, score.
Latest Vikings news.
Let's start here, boys. So Alec Lewis had a piece in The Athletic about Vikings UDFAs, or undrafted free agents, for those not familiar with the vernacular. Judd had his 53-man roster projection last week that addressed, you had a couple of these undrafted free agents making the team. Mm-hmm. So the first bin of latest Vikings news is just which Vikings UDFAs have the best chance to make the roster. So Alec Lewis, in his Athletic piece, he names a few guys, but he specifically highlights two that he thinks have the best chance to make the 53. Wide receiver Silas Bolden, who you had also, I believe, making the 53.
I did.
And then tight end Ben, is it Yurosek? Yurosek.
I think it's Yurosek, yes.
Yurosek.
Wow. Yes, I wouldn't swear to it, but I
Yurosek.
believe that that's correct. Yurosek.
Okay. And then there's a handful of other guys here that Alec mentions and that we've kind of bandied about. I'll just throw a handful of other names out. Edge rusher Tyler Batty from BYU, cornerback Zemiah Vaughn from Utah, edge rusher Elijah Williams from vaunted Morgan State, football powerhouse, quarterback Max Brosmer from the U of M, row the boat Ski-U-Mah, offensive tackle Logan Brown from Kansas, and then running back Trey Stewart from Jacksonville State, just because, the running back room's a little thin, and that dude scored 26 touchdowns in Conference USA. But give us your thoughts on Yurosek and Silas Bolden being the two that Alec Lewis highlighted, and then the other guys, how would you sort of handicap UDFA's chances to make the 53?
Okay, first of all, on Bolden, I think that is based largely on his ability to return. He played at Texas. Now, I don't know he played a bunch, but he played there, and he has an ability to return. And this team right now is looking for both a guy on punt returns to replace the departed Brandon Powell. I know Declan's happy about that. And also on kick returns. Now, Isaiah Rodgers, to me, is the logical guy to return kicks, but the question there is he going to be allowed to by the coaching staff that can say, well, if he's going to play a ton of snaps at corner, right? We don't necessarily want him as a regular on kick returns. So I think Silas Bolden has a very good chance, based as much or more on circumstances as like the fact that he is going to have any type of breakthrough at receiver, which I doubt. So that's the first one. On Yurosek, this is a little bit of an odd situation because Gavin Bartholomew, who, if I'm not mistaken, was a 6th-round pick out of Pittsburgh, tight end, was unable to take part in almost all of the offseason practices that we saw. And so I think Yurosek got a chance to do more because of that. Now, my question is this. Is Bartholomew going to be fine to go by training camp? Because if he is, that's going to alter the reps there, because I've got to think that the draft pick's going to get more work. So to me, that one's a little bit of a long shot. The guy who did stand out, though, that we've talked about last time around, and I think I did have him on the 53 gentleman, was Zemiah Vaughn, the cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's a nice depth piece potentially, but he also, and this is just pure football-y football, he flashed.
Wow.
He flashed. Football. Ladies and gentlemen, and I don't mean in a bad way. He kept his clothes on, but played great football. And so
he was terrible on the field, but he kept taking his shirt off.
Yeah, and it was just really impressive. So anyway, just as far as what I saw, I think Vaughn was the guy that probably stood out the most, just as far as raw talent. And keep in mind, a year ago, Dwight McLaughlin, UDFA, made the 53 at cornerback. So like those depth guys, and I think if Flores likes you, I don't think he is like, well, it's a UDFA, I don't want him. I think he's going to give this kid a chance. Phil, the one guy that you brought up a bunch, and I'm curious, and offensive linemen are so hard to handicap and like judge. Logan Brown, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a guy who definitely, it sounds like, wasn't drafted just because of like the COVID classes, and there was just so many players dumped into this draft. So it sounds like, from what the experts have said, Logan Brown in an ordinary draft year gets drafted. So I would not dismiss his chances, but again, it's very hard to go to off-season practices where they don't really hit. There's not a lot that you can see as far as the trenches go, especially from the O-line, and come away with an opinion. But that is definitely one to keep an eye on, because I got to think that the Vikings, A, paid to get him to come here, and B, like his upside.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, Logan Brown was, I believe, the highest ranked undrafted free agent in all of the NFL. Like he was 160th on the consensus big board, which, you know, it's not always gospel, but it's like pretty generally, if you're like 90th on the consensus big board, like you're probably going to go within 20 or 30 picks on either side. So that would have placed him as kind of a 4th or 5th round grade. There were some mocks that had him as high as 3rd round. He goes undrafted. He allowed 0 sacks at Kansas as a right tackle in 2024. But that position group is actually pretty loaded for the Vikings, or just offensive line in general. You got your 5 starters, including Donovan Jackson, who's going to play guard, left guard. And then as backups, they really like Walter Rouse. School is the veteran sort of, I guess, swing tackle replacement.
Left tackle, really.
Could step in at left tackle if Yurosek can't go right away. Blake Brandel is still under contract as one of your main backup swing guys. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he's more of an interior guy, but they like Michael Juergens because he's kind of the backup center. Mm-hmm. So just in terms of sheer numbers, it's actually harder to crack that offensive line grouping for the 53-man roster than maybe it would have been a year ago at this time. On Zemiah Vaughn, so at Utah, 6'2", first of all. And Flores, I think he likes the idea of a lankier, longer cornerback, can jump with wide receivers down the field, red zone, et cetera. But when opposing quarterbacks targeted Zemiah Vaughn at Utah throughout his career, by the way, 81.4 passer rating, NFL passer rating, 81.4. So he was very, very good in coverage. And then the other name, too, that just continues to get bandied about is just going back to the BYU kid. Tyler Batty was one of the highest ranked UDFAs, and he had 42 pressures for BYU in 13 games last year. They've got some really intriguing edge rusher prospects outside of the 3 main guys that are going to rotate in starters and then Dallas Turner. So, yeah, it's going to be, in the absence of a bunch of starting position battles, which the Vikings don't have, it actually is going to be fun to follow the fringes of the 53-man roster if you're just a hardcore football junkie, I guess, like we are.
Go ahead, Dustin.
On Ben Yurosek. Yurosek, right? That's where there's no
that's what we're going with right now.
Is it Euros? Or were you putting the emphasis on the O? Yurosek or Euros?
So I'll look at it. I like him to make
Yurosek.
If he makes the 53, I'm going to get this right.
Okay.
Because even on the Vikings like media site, they usually are really good at putting pronunciations like on names. He doesn't have one. but he has a whole bio on his thing, and I want to get to one specifically because I find it incredibly interesting. But as a player, so at Stanford, he was at Stanford and Georgia. He was a 5-year player because of the COVID year. But at Stanford, he caught over 100 passes. He was a second-team Pac-12 guy, 6'4", 245 pounds. He averaged 15.3 yards per reception in 2021. Like, he was a pretty solid pass-catching tight end. Off the field, his great-grandfather, Mike Yurosek, is credited with inventing the baby carrot. And when you Google him, his great-grandfather comes up as the guy who invented the baby carrot. There's some Vikings news right there.
So much Vikings news. Wow. So did his family get rich off this? Like, can you patent something like this?
Well,
The baby carrot?
Oh, okay, I'm going to ask a really stupid question. How do you invent, like, what is, it's just a food, right?
Well,
But did they find some sort of, like, combination of,
Right.
like a growth strategy for,
Yeah.
you can, like, create new
Definitely
foods
that.
and things.
Oh, so it's,
Or did they brand it baby? Is it like a brand, the baby carrot brand?
Could
Is
be
that a
that, too.
brand?
Could be.
So it might have been, like, dreamed up in a lab.
I mean, it's his great-grandfather, and so what? Probably born in the
Like the
20s?
aughts, the early
100s?
aughts,
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah.
So-
Or maybe the late 1800s, when all they were doing up
I
until
bet
that
he's
point
just-
apparently was the
he's-
big
all right.
Bugs Bunny-sized carrots.
He
you know?
has a Wikipedia page, his great-grandfather does. And he is credited here. He was a popular farmer, and he was processing regular full-size carrots to increase utilization and decrease waste. And then that led him to develop the baby carrot,
Wow.
which is now one of the industry's top sellers.
I mean,
I feel
know
like
what's
that
funny?
was, I feel like,
That's some Vikings news I see.
no pun intended, that's some low-hanging fruit right there. Because, like, wouldn't you look at a carrot and be like, we could make it smaller?
I love
well,
carrots.
okay, so yeah, did he?
I got no problem
Is he
with
just
carrots.
like slicing the big carrots up, or did he find a new way
No,
to grow
you've-
carrots so they grow
Those small ones that they grow now, yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, that's what he invented. But I mean, do you invent it or just say, hey, let's find a way to grow small? I don't know. But it's really interesting.
You guys ever go through like really nice neighborhoods? You're on vacation or whatever.
Yeah, I love those.
And you're walking through clearly like multimillionaires, bazillionaires are living in these places, and you wonder, God, there's a lot of nice houses around. What do these? They're not all basketball players, football
Right.
players.
Right.
They're not all oil moguls. What do these people do? And inventor of the baby carrot would be.
Yeah. That's a good one. Did
Great
you
way to
watch?
make your
Did
wealth.
you watch Your Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV with John Hamm, Olivia Munn?
No.
That's a really good show where John Hamm just starts robbing his neighbors in like a very beautiful area of California. It's a great show. Great show. Baby carrots.
I can tell you, after the PD research team got back to me, that according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution site, it is Yurosek.
You're a
So-
Yurosek.
So small YER dash cap AH small SICK.
So it's wait, say it again. It's
So small YER
so you're
dash capital AH. So emphasis on A.
so it's Yurosek.
So
Yurosek.
yes, that's correct. Yurosek.
Latest Vikings news.
Anyway, we got to the bottom of his entire life right there.
That's right. No one has done a deeper dive on Ben Yurosek
That's
and
right.
his lineage and family and wealth building than Purple
Late
Daily
June,
did.
baby. This is what
Latest
we do.
Vikings news, man.
It is late June, which means it's don't get arrested season in the NFL here. This is where coaches and players are just trying to get to training camp, right? So Jordan Addison suspension update. Jordan Addison has a July 15th jury trial as a byproduct of the DUI citation last summer. He could face a 3-game suspension by the NFL, just according to projections and reports. So if you recall, Addison was found asleep at the wheel of a car on a Los Angeles freeway in July of 2024, a year ago. and was subsequently charged with 2 misdemeanor DUI accounts. He has pleaded not guilty, and so he will plead his case to a jury or a representative on his behalf on July 15th. And I'm assuming that they'll come to a conclusion around that time or before the season. I don't know how that works timing-wise. But the NFL probably waiting to see what happens through the legal system before they issue any official punitive measures.
So this came out last week, and I saw, and I wish I could credit the guy. He, I think, is a fantasy football guy / lawyer. Did a marvelous breakdown of this entire thing, like a 6-part
Mike
thread.
Florio?
No.
Thor Nystrom?
I don't remember his name. No, lawyer. Florio fits that, but it was not Mike.
Was it Lawyer Chase?
Yeah.
But it was really in depth. It was like 6 to 8 parts, and basically what it said is it's scheduled for a jury trial, but it probably won't get to one. He'll probably plead to something so that it doesn't go to a jury, it doesn't go to a judge. It's just done through the state's attorney or the district attorney in California. But what it also said was, and this is a great point. So the NFL doesn't need like a conviction. It needs the facts, which it's going to have. And we don't know what Addison's blood alcohol was, but the courts do, and the league will. And that becomes very important, like the level in the potential for a suspension. So like that's the thing, is he can be suspended without conviction, but he would be suspended with facts that we will never know as the public because it's not put out there. So I thought it was a really in-depth, good breakdown, but I'm gonna guess he gets at least 2 games.
Yeah, and so he'll probably miss the first 2 games of the season, and then you'll just have Justin Jefferson and whoever else would. I guess Jalen Naylor becomes your number 2, and T.J. Hawkinson catches more passes. So
yep.
So all right, so we'll wait and see what happens in a few weeks on Jordan Addison.
So much Vikings news.
PFF has ranked. They're doing all kinds of rankings here during the dead period of the offseason. So what they've done is they've ranked every wide receiver and running back room. And I feel like the disrespect is palpable here, gentlemen. I feel like this is some whiteboard material for the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. Let's start with the wide receivers. So this is just ranking the wide receiver groups, or I guess kind of going through this, the pass catching groups. It's receiving groups. And they make reference to non-wide receivers in these groupings, which kind of changes things. But number 1, they have the Philadelphia Eagles with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but also Saquon Barkley is a great pass-catching running back, and then Dallas Goedert is a reliable pass-catching tight end. So it's not just wide receivers, it's receivers, anyone who catches passes. So Eagles are number 1. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are number 2 with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Bucky Irving out of the backfield. A bit surprising there. They also have Jalen McMillan caught 39 passes, 8 touchdowns last year for them. Cincinnati Bengals at 3 with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins mostly, and a couple other guys. Detroit Lions with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, the tight end, and then Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, both threats also to catch passes and do damage. Number 5, the San Francisco 49ers. Brandon Ayuk recovering from ACL. Christian McCaffrey, major injury issues. And then George Kittle is still there. This is where I start to look sideways at this list.
Yep.
And then 6 is the Minnesota Vikings, and then they reference, obviously, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, and Aaron Jones as the main pass catchers. But outside, so pass catching groupings,
it's incorrect.
The Vikings outside the top 5.
It's incorrect. They're a top 5 team. This is not the first time I've seen this type of ranking too, and I am amazed that the Vikings are never. It doesn't feel like top 3. When you have Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Jones, okay? Are you telling me that they can't crack the top 5? I'm sorry. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, especially when you add in the other elements, like if it was just receivers, definitely top 3.
Yeah.
And then when you add in the other elements, it shouldn't punish the Vikings because you're adding in Hawkinson, you're adding in Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones caught I think he had the most screen pass receptions.
Are you telling me
last year?
Are you telling me from a receiver standpoint, and I'm not saying that this team is not good, but that the Detroit Lions are markedly better?
And I don't know that this ranking is saying that they're markedly better because the Lions are 4th and the Vikings are 6th, so they might say, hey, put these teams in a hat.
But top 5 to me is important.
It's the Niners that I take the most issue with. Okay, so in the first sentence is the Niners receiving corps is an unknown given Brandon Ayuk's recovery from ACL and MCL tears, and given Christian McCaffrey's limited playing time because of everything. Like that dude. The fact that dude is, I think, even still in the league with some of the injuries and wear and tear is pretty incredible. And George Kittle's like 34?
Well,
33 now?
Yeah.
I mean, they do have Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall was their first-round pick. So
sure.
Deebo Samuel is gone and enjoying the food in the D.C. area, it appears, based on videos that have surfaced from OTAs out there.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Stones in a glass house here.
Well, you're not
definitely
wide receiver.
No.
I love Vikings news.
So the running back rankings, number 1, Baltimore Ravens with Derrick Henry, and then Justice Hill, who's an excellent third down back.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Detroit Lions with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Atlanta Falcons with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Number 4, Philadelphia Eagles with Saquon Barkley, who just completed one of the great running back seasons in the history of the NFL. But they don't love the depth behind Saquon Barkley.
Yep, this clearly is a depth play.
But, like,
I guess.
really? Like, gun to the head, you know? If you're going to factor in, like, okay, the workload might turn into attrition in 2025, but I don't think that's what they're doing.
And where do the Vikings fall?
Seahawks 5, Buccaneers 6, Packers 7, scroll. Vikings at 11 here with Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason.
I'm fine
just behind the Carolina Panthers with Chuba Hubbard.
I'm fine with that one.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I don't think that's disrespect. And also, I think I don't know how much they ding this, but if KOC doesn't like to run the ball, even though I do think they're going to run the ball, I understand why they wouldn't be inside the top 10.
Yeah, I vehemently wholeheartedly disagree with the receiver rankings. This one, I'm fine with.
You know, yeah, the Panthers being one slot above them, even though, was it Jonathan Brooks they drafted in like the early second round a couple years ago, coming off of a torn knee, and then he came back in November last year, tore the same knee again. So, but then they drafted Trevor Etienne in the second or third round this year. So, I think by the end of the year, if they commit more to the run, and if Jordan Mason turns out to be what we think he is, which is just a huge upgrade as the RB2 or like the 1B to Aaron Jones, I would expect them to jump from 11 to somewhere in the top 10.
It's a prove it. No question about it.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, let's keep moving here.
Latest Vikings news.
Let's see what Steve Palazzolo, and our old buddy Sam Munson. Sam Munson used to write preview articles for the old 1500ESPN.com way back in like 2010, 2011. And I grabbed a clip. So these guys have been podcast partners for a long time. And the current iteration of their show is part of the 33rd team. And they did like a 3-hour episode a few days ago going through every single team's most optimistic scenario. So all 32 teams, what is the best case scenario for all 32 teams? Let's hear what Steve Palazzolo and Sam Munson had to say about the Vikings.
Obviously, best case scenario is J.J. McCarthy looks good and is the future. But if that happens with the upgrades they've made to the offensive line, to the defense this offseason, is Super Bowl within their best case scenario?
I would say roster-wise, I think Kwesi's done an unbelievable job of, without even hitting on a ton of draft picks, building the depth of this team. And now the most recent place where they loaded up was defensive tackle and interior offensive line. So, yeah, I think the Vikings have as good of a shot as any other team to make the Super Bowl, again, depending on what we see from J.J. McCarthy. It really comes down to a lot of what he does.
Again, the episode was like the most optimistic scenario but he speaks logic. He speaks logic.
Just quickly, we used to have Sam on in the old radio show days, I think once a week or so, Phil.
We did like a kind of a film breakdown thing.
Yeah, and he
for
was
the radio.
outstanding. But the accent's gone.
Is it?
I mean,
is it
it's
gone?
still there.
Well, not totally. No, but it used to be heavy.
Obviously, best case scenario is JJ McCarthy looks good and is the future. But if that happens with the upgrades they've made,
It's curbed.
It's
Judd,
curved a lot.
Were you
Yeah.
hearing that through the AM radio speakers, in your
No,
headphones?
he used to just
and-
no. I think he moved stateside. I think he moved stateside now. And
He's been living in he was living in Cincinnati for a long time because that's where he used to be at PFF.
Yep.
And they're based in Cincinnati.
But yeah, they're right. And look, I mean, there's no reason to assume that right now, with all of the additions that the Vikings made and with what they did, basically to combat the fact that they saw their big flaws in the last two games, there's no reason to not be optimistic. And this is coming from a guy who likes to look for the glass half empty a lot in life. But when you look at this, if they believe, which clearly they do, that McCarthy is prepared to step in, right, and take control, and you look at what they added, and we can talk about injury possibilities, but every team can. Like, that's not a unique Vikings thing. So I agree. I think that going into the season, I am extremely optimistic that despite what the odds makers say about the Vikings win total, about the fact that I think a lot of the national pundits are not on board, I think there's a lot of reasons to like this team and what they've done to sort of counter what we saw against the Lions and Rams.
I guess it comes down to how high is the ceiling for best case scenario. Because I could hear the best case scenario being win a playoff game, and if that means the exit is in the divisional round, I can see where from a national side and from honestly a local side, that's a good scenario. But is it the best case scenario? Because like a best case scenario for like a team like the Giants is if they win 8 games at this point, right? Like that would be best case scenario for a team like that. But I think with a first-year starting quarterback, even though the roster is loaded, and a team that KOC has been able to get other quarterbacks through the 13-14 win seasons but have fallen flat in the wild card round, I could see a scenario where a playoff win is best case and first step scenario for them being legitimate Super Bowl contenders in 2026.
Well, just to clearly ask the question that they were posing is, do you think the Vikings' best case scenario includes them playing in the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, I do.
I do too. Best case scenario.
But I'd like to. There's a common, in my opinion, misperception of a statement that's made in sports, which is get in the tournament and you have a chance. And once in a while, that's true, okay? But for the most part, we know the teams that if they get in the tournament that have a chance, right? Like there have been a lot of teams where it's been like, I don't see it, and then first round they're gone. And in retrospect, with some of the Vikings' deficiencies last year, that was the case. I feel like this team, with how it's built, is built to be successful in the playoffs. So am I assuring that if they get in the tournament, they're going to get to the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. Do I think if they get in, they could? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. I do. I don't know. Like, it's probably like a 5% or 10% that they would make. It's probably less than 10%, but like call it 5% that they make the Super Bowl because they'd still have to go through the NFC through Detroit and Green Bay in this division. Philadelphia is not just going to drop off a map. Washington, I do wonder a little bit. Harder schedule, second year, young quarterback. Sometimes there's a step back there, and then you push forward after the second year. But I think this is the best the Vikings have been positioned roster-wise. Like, there's just so few weak links up and down the projected starting 22 and the depth. I think this is the best their roster has been positioned since 2009. And the difference obviously was in 2009, you plopped a relatively known commodity. There were some questions about Brett Favre's age, his arm. He came off like the bicep surgery, a bad year in New York where he threw 20 plus interceptions. But you knew that like you're tapping into a guy that's been one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time up to that point. And if you can just get into play at like his 75th or 80th percentile, turns out that he played at a much higher level than that. And you might say, well, about 2017, they had everything kind of ready to rock, and then Case Keenum stepped in. They had a great defense. But that offensive line You had, I mean, no disrespect, but like that offensive line included Nick Easton as a starting guard. Your tackles were Mike Remmers, Rashad Hill played a bunch, Riley Reef was fine, Joe Berger. Like it was kind of just a hodgepodge offensive line
and a great defense,
and a really, really good defense. Yeah. So if you were to compare the 2017 roster, which 13 wins, NFC Championship game, to this one, I would take this one, I think, 10 times out of 10.
Agreed. So. And plus they actually went and improved, it appears, significantly at places that win in the playoffs. Interior lines, smash mouth football, snot in the cold coming out of your nose as you take the will of an opponent and bury it below the ground. So yeah, I think if they get to the playoffs, I think they've given themselves a real chance. Unless you think like McCarthy's gonna, collapse to the ground, start crying, and can't. And look, I trust them to know what they are looking at here. That's the thing too. Is like you give me, from a quarterback standpoint, what we've seen since O'Connell arrived in 2022. You give me a reason to say, I know he's done really well with Kirk and Darnold, but I don't know about this. Like he's given you nothing to question yet at quarterback.
Yeah. Yep, and you could argue that the skill set of J.J. McCarthy, which is accurate, intermediate throws, decisiveness, is a better skill set for this offense than Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, much more of a deep shot taker, and you're going to have to do some of that too. But I think McCarthy fits the mold of what Kevin O'Connell's looking for. Now, can he process quick enough? And it's great when you're out there in OTAs and mini camps, and we can try to project what he did in college, but when you're actually, and he's not going to have to worry about really getting hit, probably, maybe some preseason, but week 1 at Chicago Monday night. Like that'll be the first time he's had to worry about actually taking a hit since the college football playoff. It'll be, 2 years or whatever. So there's your latest Vikings news here.
Latest Vikings news.
Every week we give you all even during the offseason, there's always things percolating. We'll get to a random Viking of the week in just a moment here, but Federated Insurance coming up here in just a few weeks is the 21st annual Federated Challenge supporting Big Brothers, Big Sisters, hosted by Federated Insurance. It's a 2-day gala and golf fundraising event that's raised almost $60 million for youth mentoring over the last 20 years. 100% of that money goes directly to Big Brothers, Big Sisters and the Federated Challenge Scholarship Program. So if you're interested in getting involved, go to federatedchallenge.org to become a sponsor. Federatedchallenge.org. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Air conditioning being the key phrase there.
It's absolutely glorious today, but on Saturday and Sunday, if you braved that heat, humidity, and let's say the AC was working but not great, well, you do not want to experience that again, and MSP is giving you a chance to avoid it. Book a $49 AC tune-up and get a BOGO air quality bundle. That's a pristine electronic air cleaner and a UV light for the price of one. That's right, your house is going to be nice and cool, and it can be as hot as it wants outside, but you are going to be comfortable. Also, MSP is partnering with the Open Door, a hunger relief organization providing food to more than 20,000 people a month. MSP will be collecting brown paper bags during their HVAC and plumbing calls. Contact them 651-615-4292 or at their website, callmsp.com. Call MSP.com. I'm going to tell you right now, Sports Dad has allowed them in his house. He loves their work, and that should be enough for you to also experience what they bring to the table.
I love that that the MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning reads have now transitioned to just doing the third person version of the reads here on behalf of the Sports Dad.
Speaking from Sports Dad's point of view.
Fireworks Forever also powering the random Viking of the week this week, Dex.
Yeah, that's right. More boom for less bucks at Fireworks Forever. They're locally owned and operated. They have 2 locations, one in Somerset, Wisconsin, which I have been to and just is my favorite golf course across the street. And then they also have St. Croix Falls, also a location there too. They're friendly and knowledgeable staff. They have QR codes, and you walk in there like, hey, what does this firework do? Well, you can watch a video and it'll show you, and also you can hear what that firework does as well. That there's low prices, so more booms for less bucks. Visit fireworksforever.com to see pricing, coupons, and the full inventory, and tell them that Purple Daily Index sent you. That's Fireworks Forever, more boom for less bucks.
Boy, hasn't been many fireworks on the Random Viking of the Week reboot here. So we started over like 3 months ago. And I don't know if you guys feel like it's out of hand to that extent. We could just scrap the segment. I have 7 wins. Blatant cheating, by the way. I just have Google open.
I feel like if you get to 10, it's over. Let's just scrap it.
Judd has 0 wins. Declan has 0 wins. So the 7 Random Vikings since the reboot have been Bobby Wade, E.J. Henderson, Matt Asiata, Mike Tice, Kelly Holcomb, Cedric Griffin, Toby Gerhart. I am the 90s Michael Jordan of Random Viking of the Week. I am the 2000s Tom Brady without the Super Bowl losses.
Yeah. I mean, I've been awful. I've been embarrassingly bad. Now, the good news is, though, that I did, but before this segment last night, I reflected on this last night, okay? Because I've been embarrassingly bad. I sat down with myself and I said, what can I do? Like, I have 0 wins. It is a joke. And I decided that I've extended my contract through 2026.
Okay.
For this.
All right, Rocco.
I've given myself an extension because I realized the status quo. What's that?
Who picked up the option? And also, when was the timing of this? Did this happen like immediately, or is this actually like a few weeks ago?
You know what? After my last loss, he came in and said, "Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. Let's maintain the status quo."
In the midst of the lowest attended Random Viking of the Week in history, too. It's
yes,
crazy.
and the fans are livid at me, and rightfully so. But I've got complete security, so let's do it.
So Dex has the clues this week. We get up to 3 incorrect guesses each. If one of us hits the 3rd guess incorrect, the other one wins automatically. No Googling, okay? That's right. No cheating.
I love how the guy who's actively cheating is like, no Googling.
This narrative that I am cheating in Random Viking,
I'm not going to let it go.
Offensive.
It might be, but it's great. It's great because fans are like, yeah, you know what, Sports Dad, you're getting.
You know what?
Hosed.
If I get an 8th win here, what I'll do is I'll take my headphones off, and you can have whoever, I guess it would be Dex next week, can have the first 3 clues without me hearing them. If we need to handicap this, I'm down to handicap it. If you guys can't keep up pace.
Word is that you've hacked our computer systems.
I wish I was smart enough to hack things. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
All right, this Random Viking played for 5 NFL teams.
Oh, it's a journeyman.
I should just start to guess my 3 and be
wrong. Be aggressive. Let's go.
Okay.
This Random Viking made 1 Pro Bowl.
5 teams.
One-time Pro Bowler.
This Random Viking played in 7 playoff games. This Random Viking won a Super Bowl. Not with the Vikings.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification there.
5 NFL teams.
I think I do have a guess, but I'll let Judd, if you want to get the first guess.
No. If you have a guess, take the guess. It'd be incredible if you got it.
In college, this Random Viking handled the punting duties.
Brad Johnson.
Brad Johnson is incorrect.
Wait. So go back. I'm sorry. In college, this Random Viking was a punter?
Handled some punting duties, yeah.
Some.
7
playoff games.
It's a lot of playoff games.
Won a Super Bowl.
Double check one thing before I give this to you.
Oh no!
You want clarification?
False clues.
Make it no. Not going back on an old clue. I'm giving you a new clue.
All these clues have been wrong.
No, everything's been right.
Tainted clues.
This Random Viking played in 2 conference championship games. This Random Viking rushed for 9 touchdowns in his career.
It's not that guy.
Rush for 9 touchdowns?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Although I don't know if this guy ever punted.
Here it is.
No.
Oh, man.
This is killing me.
Go ahead.
It's killing me. This random Viking was suspended for PEDs.
Okay, glad I didn't guess who I was going to guess because he was not suspended for PEDs.
And this might be a clue. Might be a big clue. Mm-hmm. So be ready on the trigger. He was suspended for PEDs, but in the most weirdest way possible.
Fat Pat Williams.
Incorrect. Not Pat Williams.
Oh, man.
9 rushing touchdowns.
Oh,
9 rushing touchdowns for Big Pat, huh?
I thought you were going to, yeah. Good.
I don't know if Big Pat allowed 9 rushing touchdowns.
Good point. No. You're right. That was a weird. I thought you were going. I thought you were referring to the Star Caps thing, but yeah, that's
Star Caps. Go. Is there a Wikipedia page for that whole saga?
9 rushing touchdowns. He should have
a
run.
diuretic so that they could hit weight.
He should have been used in the backfield. Yeah, no, that was a stupid guess. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, when he was suspended for PEDs, it actually came outside of his playing days.
Oh, okay. I should have let you
It's a
finish.
very weird scenario.
Jeez.
At one point in this random Viking's career life,
Yeah.
he
What's
so funny?
What are you laughing at?
Nine rushing touchdowns.
for Big Pat Williams.
There he goes.
It's like I'm laughing.
Outside zone. Can you
Yeah.
imagine?
I can't get past it.
Trips and falls.
Sorry, I'm laughing at myself. Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
that's awesome. Okay, where was I going with this? Yeah, at one point in this random Viking in his actual life, he lost a toe. He had his toe amputated.
Oh my god.
What?
Yep.
No, that
This
kid
random
was-
Viking
Okay.
is no longer with us. He has passed away.
But he won a Super Bowl.
Won a Super Bowl.
This guy's
Is it?
bad.
No. Is it Tavares Jackson?
Tavares Jackson is incorrect.
I don't think he played for 5 teams.
He didn't lose a toe. I feel like we would. I feel like I should know this now.
The losing of the toe part was very late in his life. Later in his life.
Jeez.
If I guess incorrectly one more time,
Judd
wins.
Okay, so suspended for PEDs though, so it's not super old school.
Well, I'm going to stay quiet. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I feel like they didn't test for any of that till the 90s at the earliest. Lost a toe.
Wow.
He rushed for 9 touchdowns.
He's dead.
No, that's okay.
He's dead. I had another guess, but I actually saw a picture of this guy on social media on Saturday.
Just now.
Yeah. As I'm Googling.
Oh God. Okay.
This random Viking
Okay.
coached Rex Grossman, Tony Romo,
Wade Wilson.
Dak
There it
Prescott. The streak is over. It is Wade Wilson.
He
Wow.
lost a
Judge
toe?
Wheelhouse.
What a journey. Lost a toe. He had diabetes, and he
Okay.
eventually lost a toe.
Oh, that's sad.
He was suspended when he was a coach with the Cowboys for using PEDs to help
What?
apparently curb some of his diabetes symptoms.
He's tested.
And
though?
what, Judd?
He was tested for.
Yeah, he was a coach. Yeah, he was tested. He was caught during his years with the Bears, so it was years later. And Goodell suspended him for 5 games. I had no idea that this happened.
Goodell coming in, early Roger Goodell,
Early Roger
commissioner,
Goodell. Yep.
trying to lay the hammer down.
I had
the shield.
I had no idea they tested outside of players.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't.
Seems
I
like
didn't
a
either.
weird-
But
Wow, congrats to Judd on the board. What a journey. Pat Williams and Wade Wilson being the two guesses
I
there.
love Pat. I'm sorry, I just love that Pat Williams guess.
So
It just came to me so quick. Pete, it is out, Pat.
We'll see if Judd can keep the momentum going. I will give out the clues next week. Judd versus Declan. All right, that's a wrap on Purple Daily here. Hopefully you all envision Pat Williams thundering down the
He
field.
should have been used to the backfield.
Inside zone, rumbling for a touchdown. This is Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. See ya.